the alpha woman. You don't have to be beta. Just because society says be beta doesn't make it true. No matter what has happened in the past, you did the best you could with who you were and with the information that you had.
If healing wasn't needed, there might not be a healing train for us to hop on to have these painful conversations and address the wounds that need to be healed. Whether we are aware of our wounds or they are suppressed or ignored, we have them. They linger in the background. They show up in triggers. They appear in our reactions, in our day-to-day lives. And they will be that culprit you can't get rid of until you face it head on. Thank you for joining me on yet another season of the Healing Train podcast. I'm Rania, a survivor of narcissistic abuse, a self-made woman, a fighter, a light worker. I show up here in this space hoping to make a difference in just one person's life. If that's you, I'm happy you found me. And if you know someone who will benefit from these talks, share it, comment, share your thoughts, experiences, share your wins, share your struggles. Join me on the special episodes I announce on this show where your voice can be heard. Yes, you. Your story matters too. The lessons you learned can help another soul. So come aboard the Healing Train every Wednesday, where we will laugh, cry, and heal together. On the Healing Train today, we have Trina. Trina is a transformational genius, speaker, best-selling author, and wise counsel, dedicated to empowering high-achieving women to own their brilliance, elevate their impact, and create deeply fulfilling lives. She knows from personal experience that when a woman owns her purpose and exerts her power upon any intrusive force that would derail her progress, everything changes. Her success skyrockets, her relationships flourish, and life becomes a joy to live. Through her signature Me First philosophy and the Harvest Success Formula, Trina empowers women to use their voice powerfully, establish clear standards, and take bold risks to fulfill their deepest desires. Trina lives by the credo, an empowered woman owns her world, and this changes everything. Trina, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It is great to be here with you.
Trina, as I normally do, I start our episodes with a quotation and then we'll get right into our topic. And this is credited to Nikki Giovanni. And she says, "The moment you step into your power is the moment the world starts to meet you with the same energy."
Mm,
What a quote that is.
yeah, I love that.
Trina, it was just about a year ago, roughly, where you invited me to be a guest on your podcast. And we had a very lovely conversation. And it was about my journey and my story. But we had something in common. And perhaps that's what we connected us. But we've maintained in touch. And look at that, a year later. And you're here a guest on my show. And I'm so honored that you've accepted my invitation. I'm happy to have this conversation with you because what we're about to discuss here is going to help many women. In our journey, we tend to lose ourselves in life, in the things that we get caught up into in our relationships, in raising children, in a career, whatever it may be. And then at some point, we self-reflect, become aware that, something isn't right here. And for you, I feel one of the main things that you've discovered is that you were dimming your own light. Can you share with us, Trina? Can we begin our talk by you sharing what are some of the ways, the biggest ways that you discovered you were dimming your own light before finally stepping into your power?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to just thank you for the opportunity to appear on the Healing Train podcast. It's an honor to be here. I'm so thankful for the time that we spent together a year ago, getting to know each other. And that's the beautiful part of this journey is building these relationships. When we tell our stories, we connect with people on a deeper level that can create opportunities for greater impact in the world. So that's what I believe we are doing with one another is sharing our stories. And now we get to from last year to now this year, have the opportunity to even expand our reach. So thank you for that. And yes, you're right. I did spend some time in my life very systematically over a long period of time, perfected the art of dimming my light. It was one step at a time. It wasn't a big explosion. It wasn't one big moment. It was just a little piece at a time that I've been able to trace way, way, way back until childhood.
Wow.
That I recognize that I was born with a fire, born with a light. I'm a big, big person in my spiritual soul being and recognized really a long time ago, really like, I don't feel like I belong here. I
Mm,
used to think I don't belong here on this earth.
mm,
This place is kind of weird, it just doesn't fit me. In all honesty, I'm like, God made a mistake when he sent me here. Like, I don't belong here. But what I've come to understand and know
mm,
is that the fire, the light, the power that lives within me isn't normal in some senses, it's
mm,
different. And
mm,
a lot of times in our society, most often,
mm,
what's different gets to be bad or determined or defined as bad and not welcome. So we try and fit in.
mhm, mhm,
So I did a lot of that, as a young child in elementary school. I can remember just feeling different. If you look at me, you'd see someone that may look like she's from India, possibly, but I'm an African American.
mm,
My name is spelled Trini, but my parents pronounced it Trina. There's those external things that exist about me. I was small, I was skinny. There was just a lot about me that I'm a deep thinker. I'm a processor. I analyze. And so all of those things that were different, I learned that they didn't fit into the norm. They didn't fit in with everybody else. It didn't fit in with the crowd. There was a crowd that I always felt like I was on the edge of, but I didn't fully fit in. So
mhm,
there's this natural human desire to fit in, to get into the middle, to get into the norm. But when you're not designed for that,
mm,
you end up dimming your light so that you can fit in. And so I just did it in little pieces. Not that I was a person that just was like, hey, I want to fit in and I just disregard everything just to get into it. But, it's when I would speak
mm,
boldly, when I would tell my full opinion on something. And I would get a reaction like, oh, I can't believe she said it that way, or she
mhm,
said that. Then it's like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be so vocal
mhm, mhm,
not using my voice. So it's some of those types of things, losing my voice, uh, uh, losing the potency of my voice, my full expression of my body, standing tall in who I am. So all of those things fit into dimming the light. It didn't go out, but it was some dimming of it. And it
mhm.
was periodically throughout my life until probably the last 5 years ago when I woke up and realized what had happened.
So it sounds like there's a turning point. Something must have changed for you to come to the point where you are today. Can you share with us what that turning point was, that moment where you had to reclaim your power?
Yeah, yeah. There was one significant moment that I could say was a line in the sand, but there were small moments leading up to that
Yeah.
particular moment. But the largest, most impactful moment was when my mother in 2018 was in a stage of transitioning from this life on this earth. And she
Mm,
was dying from congestive heart failure.
mm,
And I watched her over a year and a half go through an extreme process of losing her abilities in every single way, one piece at a
mm,
time. So I looked at that for a long time as really being difficult as the primary caretaker of, wow, this is a lot. This is heavy. I had so many different things going on in my life with a toxic marriage, a business that I did not enjoy, all of this going on at the same time that my mother is having her transition out of this world. And this particular night, I was in her room and I felt my heart racing. And again, like I said, she was dying from congestive heart failure. My father had cardiovascular disease, strokes, and heart attacks, died when I was in high school. Both of my grandmothers had cardiovascular disease. So, sitting in my mother's room in that night, having my heart start to race, feeling and looking at my watch to see what my heart rate was, and it was up to 123, and I was just sitting in a chair, and that's where my heart rate gets if I'm on a rowing machine for like 30 minutes. So it's like, oh my goodness, what is going on? So immediately I knew, okay, your body is telling you you've had enough. You've given enough away. You're not okay. And if you don't make a change, this is not going to be good for you. So I had to ask myself in that moment, if I don't change, if I don't change my life and I get to the end of the life when I'm the one laying in the bed, and my last day, would I be satisfied with the life that I was living or life that I had lived? And the answer was a resounding no,
Wow.
because I knew that there was power within me. I didn't have the words for it.
Yeah.
I didn't have the explanation, but I knew there was more for me to do, more impact for me to create. And I knew that I would have major regret.
Mm.
And one thing I just felt like I'll get to the end of my life and God will show me a movie that says, if you had chosen yourself, if you had given yourself a chance, here are all the things you could have experienced.
Mm.
And I wasn't willing to have that movie played and not having given myself a chance. So I made some really challenging, difficult decisions after that point to choose myself.
I'm very sorry that you had to go through that. That must have been very difficult. But at the same time, I'm going to share with you that many people come to these epiphany moments and realizations during tragedies.
Mhm,
And many times it is when a loved one is passing or after they've passed.
mhm,
When we think and we look back at our lives and say, am I living the way I want to be living? Am I happy? And the question we ask is, why do we wait for such moments to happen? Why don't we do it on a regular basis when everything is good? Why does it take a tragedy to push our buttons, to wake us up, and for us to do that inner work, the assessment, the analyzation, the self-reflection? In your opinion, I know we're not doctors here, but in your opinion, why do you think most of us fall into that trap?
I would say the perspective that I would speak from would be a perspective of a woman
Mm,
in a society that tells us to know our place,
mm,
to stay in our lane,
mm,
to pay a to play a secondary role in life.
right.
Teaches you to naturally dim your light. It is
Mm,
naturally to dim your power. It is naturally would teach you subliminally and sometimes overtly in your face messages
mm,
presented to you that speaking your truth and living out the fullness of who God created you to be isn't an acceptable option.
mm,
So I can speak for me and the women that I coach that what the patterns that I see is especially for women who are empathetic,
mhm,
have the gift of empathy. It is a gift.
mhm,
However, when it's overused and abused, it becomes
mm,
people pleasing. So
mhm,
when you naturally flow from your desire to care for others and to support and be compassionate, you tend to overextend that to the point that you want others to be satisfied and happy. And somewhere there's some belief
mm,
that if I make them happy,
mm,
then I'll get to be happy.
mm,
If they're not upset with me, then life can be good. So let me use my gifts and talents to make everyone else happy. So that's what I can say from my experience and the women that are drawn to me is
mhm,
they learned how to put themselves second so that society says be a nurturer. It says take care of everyone
Mhm.
and then take care of yourself because if you take care of yourself first, you're considered selfish.
Mhm.
So, in all of that conditioning,
Conditioning is the perfect word right here.
yeah,
Yep.
it's conditioning, and you're so conditioned that you don't even realize you're conditioned
Yep.
until sometimes there's a boom that shakes you
Yeah.
and makes you realize, like, no, because there have been messages, there have been clues along the way, but they've been so quiet and peaceful and nice. And so I think that some of it, and it's easier to choose to go with the pattern that you've been accustomed to
Mm,
and to make a drastic pivot.
mm,
Because the pivot that I had to make that was required for me was to end a 28-year marriage
right. Mhm.
with three children. Their two were grown, one was still in high school, with a family unit that was so ingrained in our marriage,
Yeah.
friends, all of that, and the idea and the thought of I have to choose me
Mm,
at the risk of pain to other people. And that
mm,
empathetic part of me was like, that's a lot.
mm,
So the trauma, the tragedy, the difficult moment, the health scare in that moment was enough to wake me up to myself.
mm, mm.
Everyone has a different journey, but for
Mhm,
me, it was enough to wake me up to what really mattered. And I will say, all of those experiences were necessary,
mm,
I believe, in order for me to be here with you today to do the work that I'm doing,
mhm,
because there was a point in time where I didn't understand what it was to really be down and out. I didn't know what it was to really lose yourself. I didn't know because I was disciplined, I
mhm,
was responsible, I had a voice, even though pieces were along the way, but I still had a strong presence. And
mm,
I didn't have compassion for those who didn't know how to pick themselves up and get up and do the things they needed to do. I did not. I didn't understand it because if I needed to do something, I did it.
mhm,
So I went through a stage of not seeing from a different perspective and
mhm,
having another level of understanding and compassion for those who didn't have what I had back then. So I lost it to some degree.
mhm,
I had to lose it to appreciate it.
mhm, mhm,
So that was my journey. And I think that sometimes that's a journey that's necessary for us to be able to have a story, have a message, have life experience, because what I share isn't something I read in a book.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
something I know from my own personal experience. So I embrace it.
mhm.
It wasn't necessarily the journey I would have chosen for myself.
Right, right. Well, this makes me wonder, Trina, the culprit here is the society we live in, is the combination of parenting, I should say, error in parenting. And the error in parenting comes from generations onwards of what has been learned and the way everybody has been conditioned, and the conditioning is being passed on. Society's expectation, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, when you combine this nice salad together, I just like to call it a salad because that's what it is, right? It seems that unless any of that changes, we're gonna continuously be experiencing this mankind, human beings, women, men, the life that we are talking about right now as we are discussing this is not going to change anytime soon. It seems that that is the new norm, that it takes something to shake someone out of the place where they're in to realize. And then after they realize, it is up to them. It's a choice that they have to make to change it or not. In your situation, you've changed it. I'm sure there were women who've experienced tragedies, came to that point of realization, but then maybe fear stopped them from doing anything. And they're still in the same position that they are not happy about. Right. So the outcomes will be different based on each individual journey and experience, exactly like you said. But I mean, if you may comment on what I just said. I know there's not much more to add there, but like, do you feel that there's some truth to that? That it's the society that we live in and the parenting. It starts from parenting and education in schools, the school system. The school system has to change. All that has to change. People's mentalities have to change. And we know that we cannot control anything outside of us. Everyone can control themselves. But if everyone sat there say, well, I can't change the world. If everyone just was concerned about themselves and there were no movements and there were no discussions and there were no actions to change that narrative, then we're going to continuously be in that cycle forever.
Yeah, I agree that it is definitely societal conditioning, and it is a strong, powerful force that we live in that teaches these lessons. I just finished a few months ago reading the book The End of Average. And in that, it really speaks to what you're talking about around our education system. The psychologists of generations before that really set the standard for what was the industrial nation, period,
Mm,
where we were conditioned to be good employees. We were
mm.
conditioned to be in line. We were conditioned to fit into the average and
Conformity.
in conformity, and it fits in so many different ways. However, I do believe that yes, for me, it took a boom punch to wake me up.
Right.
But I do believe that that punch in me has put me in a position to support women so that they don't have to get to the place that there are more people out there having these types of conversations,
Hmm.
that I get to be an illustration
Hmm.
of what it means to own your power. You see, I had the power, but I didn't own it. I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know how to focus it and know that it was a thing to own and it was mine and it wasn't a democracy
Right.
that other people got to have an opinion about. So I believe in women's power to not have to get to that place, but to
Right.
be awakened, and that there are people being raised up
Mm.
that get to be what I call myself a mirror, to hold up a mirror to help women remember who they really are and what they're created to be a disruptor to the
Hmm.
patterns that they've established, and to be a catalyst for powerful, lasting change that doesn't require you to go through way too much in order to get there. So there's women that I see who are in my age. I'm almost 60. I'm turning 59 in a couple weeks. So I'm going into my 60th year of life that my generation is more of the generation of we've probably hit a wall. And like, okay, I've given most of myself away. Now, how do I, what we say, reclaim my power? I would say own my power in a way that I have never done before. And then there are people in maybe a middle range in that 35, 40 to 60 range who still have children and who have started to lose some of that shine and that brightness
Mm.
that they used to have in their 20s, that are can now be like, okay, I see the 50 experience
Yeah.
and I get to choose now, because people in that area, because I grew up in a area, people didn't talk about it. They
Yeah.
didn't tell their stories. You keep your private stuff private.
Right.
So as we put our stuff out into the world, it helps another generation
Yeah.
be able to say, oh, I don't have to go that far. I can pivot now. And
Yeah.
then there are the younger people that get to learn really early what their power is,
Mhm.
how important it is to own it, to claim it, to harness it, and to use it. And they don't have to go through these different stages. So that is my hope and my belief of
Mhm.
what my work is about, and what I believe your work is about, is us being here to share it so you don't have to. Our parents, my mother, went through things and didn't have the support.
Mm.
And so there's an opportunity for
Mhm.
us to make it better. So men may never, if we keep waiting for men in society to give us permission,
Mm.
absolutely we'll never get there. So
Mm-mm.
I don't believe in sitting back waiting for permission.
I love that. I love that. I'm not waiting for permission. I'm taking that.
Yeah, they say it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission is a saying, but even that, there's no forgiveness either. It's
Yeah.
this is who I am, this is who God created me to be, and this is how I'm going to show up in the world, and I'm going to do me, be me, and live out my purpose. in boldness. And I'm so thankful that I've gotten to back to that place of
Yeah.
all of knowing who
Mhm.
I am and what my moves are unapologetically, and being a mirror, as I said in an illustration for other women, to do it. Use your voice. Be what I call now, be the alpha woman. You don't have to be beta. Just because society says be beta doesn't make it true. You get to stand out. That doesn't mean me only or me in front of someone else. It's just me being in front of my own life, me being the leader of my own journey.
Mhm.
That's that's the message. So don't wait. Do the work to impact society and create change. Absolutely. And simultaneously, do your thing and not
Mhm.
wait for it to change in order for you to show up. That's my conviction.
No, totally. I love that. I love everything that you said. And this requires healing. For any of us to stand in that power, we gotta heal whatever it is that led us to that point where we lost ourselves, right? And as you know, we are on the healing train. Healing is a journey. I had to put that in there. Healing is a journey, not a destination, right? Some people think that you just go to a therapist, have a few sessions, boom, bada bing, bada bang, you're healed, you're good to go. Doesn't work that way. And, we're going to keep saying it that healing is a journey and healing looks different for everyone. A brief stop at a station. Most of us are healing from something. And on the Healing Train podcast, I hold space for you to heal with me. Healing from being conditioned. Now, there's a topic I want to discuss on the show, and I invite you to be on it. Share your story, share your experience, share the moment when you have lifted the blindfold and you realized, I've been conditioned. What has been the effects on your life from being conditioned? What are you doing about it now? I invite you to be part of this movement, part of this healing, healing from our conditioning. Click the link in the comment section and follow the instructions. Your voice will be heard on this show, the Healing Train podcast. Keep on healing you. This show is proudly sponsored by Say It Out Loud GG, led by the inspiring Judith Diaz, an avid change maker and passionate advocate for speaking up and raising awareness. The Healing Train podcast is honored to have her support. Now let's get back to the show. I'd like to come back to you. You must have had some techniques or steps that you took that transformed your life in your healing journey to rebuild it, because you had to rebuild it. You let go of a lot of things and you had to rebuild. And a lot of women out there are wondering, what are some of the steps that they can take? Perhaps if you share yours, it may resonate.
Absolutely, yes, for sure. I tell people it started out with, first of all, one of the main messages that came to me, that a realization was that I was the common denominator in all my experiences.
It's my favorite word. I always say that too.
Yeah, I'm the common denominator. So when I look around the different relationships, the different situations in my life that were not in alignment, that were creating issues for me, I realized, well, you're the common denominator. So you can't blame all the things.
Hmm.
So it's not about condemnation or blame.
Hmm.
It's about ownership and responsibility and accountability. So I woke up one day and it just came to me, okay, if I'm the common denominator that created this, then I can create something different. I have to take responsibility. So it was coming to a point of taking responsibility. Some of the things that helped me in that were shows like Oprah's Super Soul Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was called. Like I loved that show, the insights, Eckhart Tolle
Yes.
and his books around, just your soul and living in the now, all the books. So many different people she shared books with from that. I watched Iyanla Vanzant's
Vanzant.
show, Fix My Life. And
Gary Zukav.
yeah, all of them, just so I got to a place. It's funny, I did not like reading growing up. I just didn't like reading. It just, fiction didn't work for me. If it was a math or a science book, I majored in chemistry. So a math or science book, I'd read that.
You
But
said
I
you were a
got
nerd.
yes, a
You're a
little
nerd.
little nerd,
You
a
don't come
weird
across as a nerd at
conversation.
all.
Weird combination, math, science over here, psychology over there. Like I said, I'm a different breed. Coming to a place of reading for personal development.
Mm,
So I just read everything that I could read, whatever topic came up, whatever book they shared that I thought resonated. So I did a lot of that. That was the groundwork
mhm,
to get me prepared to get to the point where I actually was, like I told you, I was in a business that I didn't enjoy. So I sold the business, all of that to say that once I sold that business, it was like, okay, what do I do with the rest of my life?
mm,
What do I do to have all my gifts and talents? And then it was like, oh, coaching. That's interesting. Let's go look that up. What's coaching? And so I went into coach training. And there is when I began a different level of healing,
mm,
understanding, having someone have a 360-degree view to ask me questions that I would never consider asking myself,
mhm.
that got to the root. And so I got to have a full year in that container of training that I thought I was going in to just learn something so I could go do some work, but it was transformative for me. So
Yep.
that's when I learned the power of coaching, to having that person outside with some skills and tools to help pull things out, to help me see what I needed, what work was going, what limiting beliefs, what things, rules was I living by that were not true for me, and what were the pain points. And so it's like the typical thing, the peeling of the onion, people
Mhm.
say,
Yeah.
layer by layer. And I'm a goal checker offer.
Okay.
I want to check off, I'm done, I'm healed. Boom, done with that. Let's move on. And then I'd get to another point. It's like, wait a minute, there's more healing.
Mm,
Done. Nope, there's more. So I came to understand that healing, as you say, is a journey. It is not a final destination. I've accepted as long as I'm in this human form,
mhm.
I will be having something to work on for the rest of my days. And so I've put a team together that can support me on that journey. I have a coach, I have multiple colleagues that are coaches that we support one another. And I still read books and I have podcasts, anything that can help feed my soul, feed my mind, and open my eyes to see where's the next level. So I believe there's always a next level. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's how I live. So there's always more and more growth in order to create the journey of life that I want.
Mm. We're constantly expanding,
Mhm.
right? And to me, what I'm hearing is it's not just knowledge. You're not just feeding yourself with knowledge. Knowledge is important. Education is important. The education we got when we were little was the foundation to learn how to read and calculate and whatnot and to move on with life for whatever field we get into. But education doesn't stop there, right? And that's where people misunderstand education. They think, okay, once I got my degree, I'm good, no more studying. But the most important studying and education you need to do is after that. You need to be educated about life, about relationships, about yourself, about your constant evolution from one phase to the next. Like when we're in our 20s, it's not the same when we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And I know you're just a little bit older than me, but I I recognize that already where I am in my 40s. It's a journey. It's a journey in our growth, in the phases that we are in, and we constantly have to educate ourselves about where we are today,
Mhm.
right? And life around us is changing, technology is changing, so we have to keep up with what's happening. Otherwise, we remain stagnant, right? And we're stuck in that bubble that we've been conditioned to believe that that's where we're supposed to be. Back to healing. This helps you to be on the path that you're on today. So I'd love for you to show us, now that you have stepped into your power, who is Trina today and what does she do and how does she help women? I know you touched on it earlier, but please share with us more now about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting as you were just speaking when you talked about knowledge. Who I am now is a recognition of the difference between the Trina that spent a lot of time in her logical mind,
Mm,
using my intellect as my default. I
mm,
was almost a straight A student, graduated number two out of my high school class, graduated magna cum laude with a chemistry degree from college. So I depended heavily on my intellect, on my knowledge of knowing. And like you said, that is the first step, and it's important to know. And even as I've gone through this journey, to gather more information, But who I know myself to be now is a woman of wisdom,
Mm.
where you take the knowledge and know what to do with it,
Yes.
how to apply it in your life. You can get overloaded with so much information because if it was just information, Google would have solved everything for us. We could just Google for an answer. We could use Chat GPT, AI to just get more information. And I found for myself that sometimes I get on information overload.
Yeah.
Like, there's too much information that there's no space and time to integrate the information into wisdom so that it becomes a part of your being. So
Mhm.
who I am now is a person that has a lot of knowledge
Mhm.
that I spend space, create space and time in my life for it to integrate into me and become a part of my being so that when I show up with my clients, when I show up with you today, when I walk around the earth, wherever I go, I am prepared. I am ready because it's who I am. So I don't have to depend on memorization and facts and figures to share because it's true to who I am. So who I am is a woman of wisdom, a woman of power that I know that that wisdom is power. I am a transformational genius. I work with my clients and you don't come into my space and not be transformed. It just takes one little perspective change
Mm.
to
Mm.
change everything in your life. It's
Mm.
like a big ship. They had need to do is change a degree or two, and
Mm.
they will end up in a completely different destination. But we come to believe that the changes have to be huge
Mm.
and major. It's just a little change, and it takes somebody with skill and tool to help you see that.
Mm.
So I now know who I am as a person that works with women around owning your power, using your voice, and being an example, using all of my life experiences to share with women and just say, the world will not change until we get into our rightful place of leadership.
Mm.
Society is out of balance because we are not where we belong.
Mm.
We're to be at the table. We're to be in partnership with men in creating this life experience.
Because we've been waiting for permission, Trina.
We've been waiting for
We've been
permission.
waiting for that permission that we're never
Yeah.
gonna get.
And you spoke earlier about religion and culture and things, and I grew up in the Christian church, and that's the foundation of my faith. So it is built on my faith that everybody has their own, but I will share where I come from is I go back to Genesis chapter 1, where it says, Adam and Eve, you be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth. Then there was this fall that all these things happened. That's the story. So for me, my original created purpose was to be in unity, was not to be second, was to be in power, in leadership. And so that's where I come from is I am redeemed and I believe that I'm in my rightful place as a woman in leadership. And I believe every woman has been created with a form of leadership, however that looks. And it's all different. But that is my message. And that is what I do is stand up, the woman that can hear my voice and know in your soul that you're called to more and there's more purpose in this earth and you're not willing to get to the end of your life and have regret, stand up and do something about it. Own your power, claim your power, and just take one step. That's it, just one step at a time. You can't take all 20 of them to get to the top of the stairs. You have to go one step at a time. And so that's what I'm here to do is help people on the journey of taking the next step.
That's amazing. So you do one-on-one coaching so someone can connect with you and, see how it works, what kind of work you do with them. But you also have started a new journey recently, and you have a blog that you've been writing and expressing a lot of what's been stored, might I say. Can you talk to us about that journey of you coming to that point of releasing your blog?
Absolutely, yes. I do one-on-one coaching and I do have group coaching programs as well. Connect with me and I can share with you what I have to offer and how I could serve you. And the blog for me was an idea I had probably 10 plus years ago,
Yeah.
that in that space where it was down and out, there was that flicker in me that says, I
Mm,
want to speak. I have something to say.
mm,
But I did not know how to create a blog. I didn't, the technology of it, it was just not there. But the idea was there, and I'd revisited the idea. And so I've been in this journey of, if you have the idea, just go out and do it. Just like last year was like, hey, podcast. Okay, I'm not the one to do a podcast. That's not me. And then a few months later, it's like, sure, let's just do a podcast. Did 24 episodes. So it's like, okay, now I'm going to try to do the blog. Okay, I'm just going to share my thoughts. It's really an opportunity for me to share what I'm thinking, how I feel, what experiences I've had, and it'd be another opportunity for this phase that I'm in of what I call planting seeds.
mm,
I want to plant seeds out into the world, which is my voice,
mhm,
into the hearts and minds of women. Maybe I'll be the person that can plant the seed, water it, help you fertilize it, watch it grow, reap a harvest, and take the full journey with you. So that's the blog is part of how I interact and serve my community is
mhm,
by the podcast, it's social media, it's putting my words out into the world in any form that feels natural and that I enjoy. And if I don't enjoy it, I don't do it because it's not natural. So it's all that owning power, know where my
mhm,
role is.
mhm,
So it's in that vein that I did the podcast to share my stories, plant seeds, give women hope that they would step into their power and offer them the opportunity to know who I am, what I have to offer, and if they want to go further and deeper, to know that I'm here to support them.
mhm. Well, what you're pretty much describing here, Trina, is you embodying what you were talking about earlier, the transformation, right? When you had that moment where it clicked for you, which was leading up to by other events, and you made a decision to make a change, and you made changes, and they were tough changes, and you're learning, you're getting the knowledge, right? And then you turn it into wisdom, and now you're walking the talk.
Mhm.
You're leading by example. And in healing, in your process of your own healing and rebuilding and rediscovering the true you and standing in your power, speaking your truth, you're doing it in whatever means that you choose to do it. Even if you do something for a while and say, you know what, I want to move past that. That's okay now. I'm done with that. Now I'll move on to the next one. That's totally okay. You're allowed to do that, right? And I want to leave our audience today with a message. Earlier, you talked about taking responsibility. One of the first things you did is to take accountability and responsibility for the role you played to the life that you've been leading and to the point of where you are at that moment. Now, that's a great first step. What can be a second step, Trina, other than taking accountability and responsibility and not just learning, 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 but also doing what we learn, embodying it? What could
Mhm.
be the next step for a woman out there who may be feeling stuck and not sure what to do?
Everybody's journey is different, first of all.
Yeah.
So I'm not prescribing a journey that one size fits all
Hmm.
because there are multiple opportunities and options. I would say after coming to a point of accountability,
Hmm.
begin to ask yourself, what
Hmm.
do I want?
Hmm.
A lot of times we never even consider what we want because we've denied ourselves what we want for so long in the service of others.
Hmm.
And that's a question that I thumped me upside the head one day where I realized I have not been asking myself what I want. So
Hmm.
if you don't know what you want, you have no idea what to build for yourself. You don't know where to even point your compass. You get a GPS in your car and you're like, I don't know what destination to plug in. And you don't have to know the full story, but I would say begin to ask yourself the question
Hmm.
and then find the support around supporting you in understanding how to build it, how to heal, what to do to understand what you want, heal the pain and the traumas that you've experienced, and then begin to put the pieces. But I would also say be gracious with yourself
Mm.
and understand that no matter what has happened in the past, you did the best you could with who you were and with the information that you had. So be kind to the past you, because we can also come out and begin to look back and be so critical.
Mhm.
I would say, wake up and say, I have the power to make a change. I'm accountable for myself. And I love the version of myself that got me to this point. And now, what is it that I want to move forward? And get some support. And I don't just say that because I am a coach and
Mhm.
because I want people to work with me. I would love to serve everybody, but I can't. However, I know the power of a second person and even groups where you can even
Mhm.
hear other people's story and having community and not living in isolation, because when you feel stuck and you don't know where to go, you can tend to believe the messages that you're so different and your story is so different and there's something wrong with you. And it's not that anything's wrong with you. It's that you've lived a life in a society that didn't understand you and you did the best you could to get where you are. And there's so many more of us out there who have the same lived experience, and we're here to support you.
I love that, Trina. You have no idea. Every word you said, it was like, yes, preach, girl. Yes. I mean, we're not preaching here, okay? But every word you said is coming from your heart.
Mhm.
I feel it as you're saying it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for all the insights, for sharing with us your story, bits and pieces of it, and how you got there. And I truly wish you all the success in the path that you're taking and all the endeavors that you will be taking. And perhaps I'll be on your show again. Maybe you'll have a new show. And next time we'll have a different
Absolutely.
conversation about a different topic because you and I cannot get enough of each other.
Absolutely. I have had a great time and the best of luck and best wishes and for success that the Healing Train podcast will touch people around the world, that there will be no limits allowed to where it can go and how far it can reach, and that your voice and your heart's desire for the vision that you have will be fulfilled. And if there's anything I can ever do to support you, please reach out.
Thank you, Trina. Thank you so much. Before you hop off the train, if something in today's ride stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Hit follow and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Want to dive deeper or have a topic you'd love us to explore? I'm all ears. Drop your questions, thoughts, or suggestions. We're in this healing journey together, and your voice matters here. Just drop a message to guest@healingtrain.ca. I am listening. And until next time, keep on healing you and keep riding with me on the healing train.